Msss Anomalies channel. Alright guys, I guess technically, well most technically, this is my first Mars video for 2016. Alright guys, I've done this before on this particular subject in Moon, which is one of Saturn's moons, Enceladus. Now I've done this before and people kind of, not everybody, because a lot of people agreed with me, but some people, you get a couple of people that come through and they kind of beat you up about, oh, you don't understand, you got to watch, you got to read up on these things, this is, you're wrong. Okay, I know, I've read all there is to know about this moon, and I'm going to show everybody just so they know I do understand what's going on. But I want you guys to tell me, my subscribers, what you really think is going on. I'm talking about the plumes that are coming out of this supposed plumes, rather, that are supposed to be coming out of this moon, Enceladus, which is, by the way, is one of 62 known moons around Saturn. That's, oh my God, that's quite a bit. But, it is what it is. But I want your take on this. Now, let's have a look here. And here's Enceladus moon. This is just some fun facts, basically. Enceladus is a second moon in distance from Saturn. It is only 311 miles, or 500 kilometers in diameter, the sixth largest of Saturn's moons. It orbits around Saturn every 1.37, or just shy of 1.5 days, at an average distance of 148,000 or 238,000 kilometers. It is believed that Saturn's gravity impacts tremendous tidal forces on Enceladus, turning a layer of its subsurface into liquid, which they claimed is an actual ocean inside this icy moon. And what it does is, because of Saturn's gravitational pull constantly pulling on it and everything else, it's contracting and expanding. Therefore, it heats the core and then builds up and then shoots this geysers out into space, which scientifically, that makes sense to me. It really does. So I get that part. And what it does is it'll actually, and it does have I forget what it is exactly what the gravitational pull is of this little moon. It's not a whole lot. So it does actually come out as heated liquid and then immediately freezes and comes back as like ice crystals. So they would be reflective. So that's what they're talking about. These would be reflective. And again, I get it. It makes sense. But we're going to have a look at some of these pictures and you guys can tell me what you think is going on here. Okay, the tiger stripes, which you can see down here, and this photo down below, at its south pole, then that's what this is supposed to be, at the southern region is where these plumes are coming from, are fissures which erupt with warm ice. It's not really warm per se, it's not, because it comes out as a liquid first, and then it just turns into ice, so I guess it would be a combination, it'd be so quick, and maybe that's what they figure. Ice erupting from Enceladus travels at over 800 miles, or 1,300 kilometers an hour, traveling thousands of miles into space. Again, totally agree. The eruptions of ice from Enceladus make up Saturn's outer E-ring. Now, I didn't know that until I read up on this moon a while back, but I went, wow, that's pretty interesting. Enceladus reflects 100% of its light it receives, making it the most reflective object in our entire solar system. Pretty interesting. The surface area of Enceladus is only 15% larger than Texas, so it's not a very big moon. 311 miles, not super big. Enceladus was discovered in 1789 by the British astronomer William Herschel. So you guys can have a look at that. And you can see right here Enceladus temperature as a result of reflecting so much light. Surface temperatures on Enceladus are an average around negative 201 Celsius or negative 330 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll give you guys the page, and you guys can have a look at this because it does get into a little bit. Not a whole lot, but all right. So again, if you read this here, it's like the water ice erupting from the south pole of Enceladus is most probably caused by a deep, warm ocean under its frozen surface. In 2008, the Cassini spacecraft conducted an ambitious fly-through of the plumes, detecting huge amounts of organic, I like that, chemicals emanating from the small moon. Sodium has also been detected in the spray, meaning that the subsurface ocean would be salty just like on Earth. All of these ingredients make Enceladus one of the most exciting and promising places in the solar system where life could exist. I think that's pretty cool. Now, when you look at this photo here, this makes sense to me. I look at this and I go, absolutely, that's what I would expect to see. Now, I'll show you a more larger photo. This, to me, is what I would expect to see. You just see it coming, kind of just spraying everywhere, going off, and then falling back. That makes sense to me. The crazy thing about this particular photo, and I don't know if it says it here. Let me see if it says it on this one here. No, it doesn't say. It says fissures erupting with ice particles at Enceladus' southern moon, or South Pole, rather. Doi. Anyway, so when I looked at this, I said, okay, that's what I would expect to find. Let's go ahead and just rotate this again. It's just spraying out. And if it comes out as water at first, and then it just immediately turns into ice crystals, it's going to be like a spray sort of thing. So this makes sense to me. But what I was getting at about this photo is that when I looked up, you can go on Google and just put on there Enceladus moon plumes, and you'll see this photo. And the funny thing about it, it said artist rendition. I'm going, wait a minute, why would this be an artist rendition if you're getting these true photos? Because I'm going to show you some photos that are the real deal. They don't look nothing like this, guys. And I've done this before. And again, I want your take on this. Okay, so this is one of the dark photos of Enceladus. And you can see right here, the upper right-hand corner, it appears to either be direct sunlight or reflective light from Saturn. Okay, these are totally in the shade. Nowhere to be found, man. It's just, there's no light to be found except for this area. Now, if you look right here, it looks kind of straight, almost like this. Got the curvature, but then you look over here, it's got another curvature. It's almost like this is like sort of in a crater type thing, but you can see how bright these are, and guess what? Where's the light showing to make it actually make these fissures or these geysers show these ice crystals? Where's this light coming from? I don't see it. Now, let's have a look at a few more photos, and you guys can look these up yourselves and see what I'm talking about. This one you can kind of understand. Yes and no, this one's borderline. I'm going to tell you why. Let's back it up. You got the light, it looks like it's coming from this direction or somewhere around this direction, from the left and almost heading straight into it, or more top. Because you can see right here in the back, there's actually shadowing. Right there, there's a sliver, well, at least on the picture it's a sliver, but it's probably many miles of darkness. And yet, it's brighter than hell at the very base of this moon. Now, if it was coming off here, people will say, well, Chris, you don't understand. What it is you got the most concentrated ice or water coming out of here, turning into ice. It makes sense to me. I get it. You would think it's more condensed, so therefore you're going to see the most lit up part of the ice crystals. What I would expect to see, especially when it's in the shade, that this wouldn't be quite as bright, and maybe this area here would be brighter, more uniform, because it'd be direct light. Okay? I would expect this to be not quite as bright, and this should be a hair bit brighter coming out right here, maybe just a little bit further. Now over here, obviously not, because a lot of this is just some coming out into the into space, and a lot of it's falling back. Now, that makes sense to me. But, so this one's kind of borderline photo. You can accept it and you couldn't. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Now, let's go to this one here. Now, again, this is like the very bottom or the southern hemisphere of the moon. You can just see it right here. It's very faint, but you can see just a little sliver of light. Now, I don't know where that's coming from. Again, I don't know if it's coming from the actual non-direct sunlight, meaning reflective light from Saturn, or somehow direct sunlight from the sun itself. Now, again, super bright. These guys look, listen, these look like intelligently spotlight, like they're artificial light. And it looks like incredibly bright lights coming off this moon. Now, am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. This one here puzzles me more than anything. Because I see this one, I'm going to show you a more larger one. I just want to show you this one here because it's in color. What you'll see is, you see this, what looks like a wall type thing, a straight wall, and it has these perfectly bright lights coming off of it. You'd say, well, why do they seem like lights to you? All right, I'm going to show you in the next photo that these few appear in front of this wall, and then behind it there's other lights, and it's projecting a shadow. Now, let's have a look at the bigger photo. It's in black and white, but here you go. Now, when I see this right here, I see these what look like a wall going all the way down, and it looks like these powerful beams of light. And there's a couple more, and there's a couple more in front. And then you've got this wall. Now look at the back ones. You don't see where the base of them are. Like this one here. Like you see the very bottom of this one here on the right. Go find the ones over here. You can't. It's almost like they're behind this wall. And then you can see like it kind of like some of this stuff, this shadowing looks transparent. Like these lights are actually going through it. But, okay, now let's look at the right-hand side of this moon. It would be down and right of this moon where there's direct sunlight or reflective light from Saturn. Okay, it's brightest here on the right and probably down near the equatorial region of this moon. Okay. Why are these completely lit up, again, brightest at the base? This is what I'm trying to understand. It doesn't make sense to me. I get the scientific way they're trying to explain this. Now, speaking of explanations, let's have a look at this. Let's go to their explanation, shadows and plumes across Enceladus. Now, this is just astronomy picture of the day, which was in August 4th, 2014. Explanation. Why does Enceladus have ice plumes? The discovery of jets spewing water vapor and ice was detected by the Saturn-orbiting Cassini spacecraft in 2005. The origin of the water feeding the jets, however, remaining of the topic of research. A leading hypothesis held that the source might originate from a deep underground sea, but another hypothesis indicate that it might be ice melted off walls of deep rifts by the moon's tidal flexing and heating. It makes sense when you think about it in a science form. It makes sense. I'm okay with that. Pictured above, the textured surface, okay, and you see this here in the foreground. You can see it all in here, of Enceladus is visible in the foreground, while rolls of plumes rising from ice fractures in the distance. These jets are made more visible by sun angle and the encroaching shadow of night. Makes sense. Recent study of over 100 images like this of geysers crossing Enceladus' south pole, together with regional heat maps, indicate that these plumes likely originate from a hidden sea, increasing the chance that this frosty globe might be harboring life. And I think that's awesome, and I think they need to go down. I'm almost positive they're going to try to do a landing on this, because I don't believe that they have. You guys can correct me if they have. But again, it doesn't explain why it looks like you got these rectangular shaped, perfect lined shadowing. It doesn't make sense. I get if it's like this. Let's say this line right here, okay? And it's got... These don't look like they're deep into these crevasses. You can see right here, if it was deep in this crevice right here, you wouldn't probably see the base of this light. It would actually be inside and you would see what it looks like right here. I'm seeing this perfectly straight line and it's casting a shadow. Okay, now why would these lights over here be allowing this whole shadow to be casted? It doesn't make sense. It has some inconsistencies to it. And when you look back, like I said, at these particular ones, where there's no light or very little light present at all, it makes you question it. It simply does. Now, give me your take on it, guys. Let me know what you think. I mean, I'm seeing this here. This one's kind of borderline. Could very well be. But, again, brightest here. This one's so close on the light that it's a very good possibility that that's what it may be. But, again, I would expect it to be a little brighter here because this area here is technically in the shadowed area. So why would it be super bright? I would expect it to be more uniform brightness out here because the light, actually direct light hitting it, but non-direct light hitting it here. I don't know. And I'm just going by just like a common sense point of view, and I'm also balancing out what NASA's saying about these particular plumes themselves, which they give no explanation by the exact straight line, which looks like rectangular shadows. Again, here's the other one. I mean, nowhere to be seen light at all. Very, very little sliver, but yet it's super brightest at its base, or these geysers. At the bases of them, it seems to be brightest. And it's only in that one spot of this moon, guys. There's no other spot on this moon. So, again, this is what I would expect to see. You guys tell me. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to keep it too long. Just wanted to pass this on to you. I told you I'd do a couple quick ones here in the beginning, and that's what I intended to do. I originally did this one, but for some reason, one of the settings were off of my video, and everything looks super grainy, so I didn't want to show that to you guys. I want it to be more clearer like it should be, so this one here should be a lot better. Anyway, guys, got a cool one coming up for you, and then we're going to definitely be delving back into a lot more of these Mars photos and what I think is really going on with the manipulations and so on and so forth. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Always a pleasure. Good to be back. Good to have you guys back on board here, so thumbs up to you guys as well. You know, share the videos. Let people know what's going on. It's not just a Mars thing. It's our moon, and everything in our solar system and exosolar system. So spread all of these videos. Give me your comments on it. As always, you guys get the last word. Let me know what you guys think this is. Plumes, artificial lighting. Let me know what you think. Again, you can read the scientific part of it about NASA, what they claim it is, and then you can make your own assumptions. Say, okay, as far as common sense-wise, what do I think it is? And let me know. Put the comments down below. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Always appreciated, and I will see you next pick.